Watch how they avoid telling the truth about how only the true melanated Hebrews hold the DNA to activate these dormant starships that are hidden and buried throughout the Earth. They will never admit that the true heirs of the Earth and high-level technologies belong to the true original chosen ones of the Most High. These envious so-called experts claim to have knowledge, but are in fact gatekeepers who are running out of time and dread their day of judgment.
6 months or so, I mean, he's been on several missions to these arks, and he's described going in them, and that when he goes in, that only a few people can activate the technology in there, that things light up when these people move in there. And it's exactly what you were saying, that some people have the DNA, but many others don't. He was saying that it's only a minority have the DNA, have that ability for these technologies to switch on. And I guess Alex, you said there's 200 million star seeds on the planet. Well, if you kind of calculate, we've got like 8 billion people, so 200 million. What's that? That's about 4% or something like that. It's only a small percentage of 8 billion. I need to check my math there, but we're talking a small percentage of the population. But that sounds about right in terms of many of the star seeds do carry the genes within them, or the frequencies to activate these technologies. And I remember JP was saying how much the covert operatives were leaning on him to join the military because they wanted to use him more on these missions. But there were constraints, because as long as he was a civilian, I mean, he told me in 2014 he was taken to one of these surface ships parked above an ark, but he was refused entry. There was an admiral there that said, "No, you can't go because you're a civilian. Get out of here." So eventually he joined, and he went into that ship in the Atlantic Ocean, in the Bermuda Triangle, twice in the last few months. So yeah, they definitely are looking for star seeds. They're looking for people with the right DNA, because the military, whether we're talking about white hats, black hats, they don't have the genetics, so they call on the star seeds that do. So
Yes.
either one of you want to kind of elaborate more on the genetics and the DNA that's necessary to activate these technologies?
It's like it's a resonance. You need to be at the right frequency to activate the frequency, because you bind with the ship, you bind with the consciousness of the vessel, and there's an interaction, and you can activate it and control it because it's the same frequency exactly. And yeah, I don't know how to explain it better, Alex.
The military is fully aware, both light and dark, that many souls have come back in time to this moment. The frequency of a soul cannot be duplicated. It cannot be copied. Even if you make a clone, it is never the same as the original, ever. And they know that, which is why they spent all this money doing all this dastardly shit, to figure that out. That, when you take out someone and then you try to copy them, it's never the same. So, yeah, in order for some of this technology, which maybe some of us left behind or we interacted with in one lifetime, multiple lifetimes, multiple dimensions. I've told the story about when the A's make a ship. When they're building and growing the ship, before it's actually ready to take off on its first mission, each of the crew gets underneath it, and they stand on a lighted platform. They put their hands on the surface, the outside surface of the ship, and a resonant frequency and something comes through their body and it goes into the hull of the ship. Now the ship knows them, so they and the ship are one. The ship is an extension of them, and they in turn are an extension of the ship. Okay? Frequency, holographically, etc. Now, if you're not a member of the crew, you will not get inside that boat, that ship. It isn't going to happen. And it will do everything it can to make sure that you're removed from the equation. You can do that in a multiple of ways. It all depends on how it's programmed. Well, these arcs, they're absolutely no different. And what they're looking for are the people who operated or were part of the crew at this point, because the belief is we can get in there, we can figure out the technology and use it. That may or may not be true either. Because again, when you get to the control panel, it has to be a member of the crew. You know, so they obviously think JP is a member of one of the crews, which is why they're using him. You know, it's absolutely fascinating. It really is.
Well, these arcs seem to be popping up all over our solar system and all over the Earth. And of course, we don't get to hear too much about the ones popping up in other planets or on moons, but the ones on Earth, apparently these are now activating, and this is something that can't be hidden for too much longer. I mean, is this part of the kind of big picture disclosure that is driving all of this? I've been wondering whether the arrival of these fleets recently and the activation of these arcs has kind of triggered a countdown, a disclosure countdown, if you like, that at some point these arcs are going to start floating and that's it, you know, game over, because it's like, you know, how are you going to explain away these miles-long motherships that are suddenly floating all over the planet?
I know Elena knows this, and Michael, I'm sure you do as well. There are many people who are having out-of-body experiences or are traveling, soul traveling, when their physical bodies are asleep and they're going to ships and they're being taught and they're being educated. What if some of that is actually going on, but they're actually going on a soul level to these arcs, and they're on the inside? So what's happening on some level, probably in fourth, maybe even fifth density, they're going to these ships, to these arcs, and the crews are re-engaging with each other after this long period of having been asleep or have been separated through different types of physicality and dimensional physicality. But what's happening is that these crews are reuniting on some of these boats. You know, that's something that cannot be dismissed as impossible, because, you know, all of us who have worn tinfoil hats are now wearing crowns of knowledge because we were ahead of the curve. So I would suspect that some of that is actually going on, that, you know, because your soul in fourth and fifth density has a physicality, right? So you're there, you'd be able to operate equipment and do all the things that you think you could only do in third density. It's really an extraordinary time.